You're watching the Skateboarding Bros Show. Stories from the pioneers of skateboarding about the history and the fun of the sport we love.
All right, Ed, I think we're colors good, the pictures are good, the audio's good, and we got connections. So why don't you kick off the show and let's see where we go.
Hello and happy holidays, everyone, or happy July, whenever you're watching. This is the Skateboarding Bros Show, and we're pleased to have tonight as our special guest Jim Goodrich, photographer extraordinaire, documentarian, Terrian, however you say that, and just a great guy. And I really appreciate you coming on the show with us, Jim. And
My
I'm going to try
pleasure.
to stay out of your way because there's so much to learn in the pictures, and we want to know the details and the backstories and everything. So if we only get through 5 slides, we're happy.
Well, the slides are really helpful because they give us a launching previous Zoom calls and interviews I've done. The photos are a godsend for me because they give me something to refresh my memories and something to launch off of to talk about.
So we'll go with the most painful slide first, which is the torture you endured as a skateboarder. Maybe we will.
There we go.
Look
Look at that.
You did your homework.
Well, you were helpful. So I did kind of hide some cones in one of the pictures.
Now that I'll admit, half those cones were knocked over. The problem is I was just starting to skate there, and it was mostly slalom or just fun in the street. But I'm racing against some of the world's best skateboarders. So obviously I'm trying to.
Jim, is that La Costa?
Yeah, that's La Costa. It was shot by a fellow photographer friend of mine, Tim Stahl. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to beat these guys. I mean, Henry Hester, Bob Skolberg, Tommy Ryan, name it, Bobby Piercy. But I wasn't trying to beat anybody. I was just trying not to look like a complete loser out there.
You can take a look at that gear right there. So
yeah,
like you're riding on tracker trucks, and are those Sims Bowl riders there? Is that a fucking?
I was riding two different kind of wheels then. The OJ wheels and Road Riders. But those look pretty low profile, so I'm going to say those are OJ wheels. And
yeah, those look kind of wide.
Yeah, tracker trucks, and probably is a GNS Fiberflex board.
Looks like a Fiberflex, yeah.
Oh wow, yeah, right.
Yeah. But that gear, the elbow and knee pads, you know, if you landed on those, they just slid down and they were no help at all.
And what's the helmet? It looks like almost a Norcon or something.
Probably a Norcon, my guess. Some of the early helmets, yeah.
And what's the shirt?
I think that's Concrete Wave.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
like Concrete
Wave Skate Park, yeah.
Classic.
So that was probably, I want to say 1977, though I first started skating in 76.
So this is black and white. Are those the rainbow band leather gloves you got on there?
Power Paw, I think.
Power Paw.
I love those wheels. They had a good design, cool design to them with suede, and then they had the pads sewn in on the ball. I sure could have used those a few months before when I went down a hill, got speed wobbles, hit a pebble. This when I was riding on clay wheels, hit a pebble, did a Superman dive, and took all the skin off my palms. So I always, and I broke my arm and my wrist too. But yeah, so I always wore those Power Paws. I loved them.
So this was a 2-cone slalom course, very early era of slalom.
Yeah, that's all I could handle. But really, the earliest shot of me is in the upper left-hand corner, the one of me carving in the pool.
Oh, wow.
That was a massage pool, and that was early 1976. And it was before I even broke my arm. So before I had that accident, that's what sent me into photography. While my arm was in a cast and I was healing, I picked up a camera and started taking pictures of my friends who just happened to be a lot of the skaters who were in the magazine. So that's how I got my launch. That accident changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are those Adidas skate shoes you got there?
Those are Adidas.
Adidas countries.
Well,
Yeah.
I ended up being a Nike guy for a while. And then when Vans came along, or when I found out about them, we had a Vans store in San Diego, and you can go up to the store and you can order custom shoes. Now, I guess they're doing that again, but you can do any color on any of the section of the Vans shoes. So I'd pick up one pair that I'd custom pair, and then I'd order another pair, and I just kind of went crazy with that.
That's great.
Yeah. So either, yeah, the Adidas, I don't even remember riding those. Maybe I got them for cheap, but mostly Nike and Vans back in those days.
Nice.
Yeah. And then the one on the far right, that's at Upland Pipeline skate park at Upland.
Wasn't that in this was in the magazine, right? That was in one of the
Yeah.
magazines. I think I remember that from one of the Upland contests.
Well, it could have been from the contest coverage. I think it was too early for the Hester on that. I'm not sure, but
Gosh, I didn't get it when I I just ripped everything off your Instagram I could. Do you know who took the shot?
I don't know who shot the one with the long hair and the Mountain Dew. But yeah, that was at Upland Skate Park. So it would have been 77,
Right.
78, somewhere in there.
Right.
The one in the center up top, I don't know. I haven't been able to get anybody to fess up to that one, but that was at the Del Mar Pro Shop, like where they had the pool tables and where they check people in at the Del Mar skate park. And somebody came up behind me and started wrapping this duct tape around my head. Now, this was when they were peeling it off, though, because the first thing they did was they covered my eyes, so I couldn't see what was going on. And then once they had my whole head covered, eyes and hair covered, they spun me around, and all I could hear was this roaring laughter all around me. Had no idea who was behind it. But at some point, I don't know how long I stood there feeling like an idiot. But at some point, people started helping me unwrap it, and I lost a lot of hair.
That's gnarly.
Yeah,
Oh
really.
yeah, very, very painful. That was not a staged facial expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the lower left corner, that was when I had been at Gullwing for about 5 years, and Larry Balma approached me and asked me if I wanted to be managing editor at Transworld, and I said, yeah, okay. So that was my office. The cardboard cutout is an air of Tony Hawk that's on the wall there. But Larry wanted me to take a picture, like a profile kind of a picture and a portrait, and I just thought I just wasn't really into it. And I said, besides, when people see my face and they see me shooting at a contest, which I wasn't doing as much when I was editor of the magazine, but I didn't like to be recognizable. I'd like to be able to move through the crowds without too much fuss. So I took a picture of my feet, and Larry said, no, you got to have a face picture, because this was the introduction. This was like an introduction to me, introducing me as their new editor. But I told him I wasn't going to do the face shot, so what could he do? So that's what we ran.
That's great.
Yeah. And then the far right's more recent. That was probably, well, I started shooting. I was a staff photographer for the World Roundup, international freestyle event up in Vancouver. Started in 2012. So that was kind of my introduction back into actually working in skateboarding. So that was the crew. That I don't know how many competitors we had that year, maybe 50, 60, quite a few, but I think there were 20 something countries represented.
Wow.
And we'd done that every year up until the pandemic knocked us out. And then we came back and did it one more year earlier this year.
Is that Canada?
Vancouver, Canada. Yeah.
Vancouver, yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's in Cloverdale, just outside of Vancouver. And it's actually the fairgrounds and rodeo. And this was a curling rink, like below that there was a curling rink. And so they had this nice, smooth concrete floor. The problem is it was glossy and shiny and slick. So the poor skaters, we tried everything from pouring Coca-Cola on the floor to help make it stickier, all kinds of things, but we just had to sweep it all the time to sort of help keep skater from getting too hurt with that slippery floor.
Unbelievable.
Good times. Made a lot of good friends. Still friends with all those people.
Yeah.
Actually attempted to immigrate to Canada a few years back. It was around the time that Trump was elected, and I just didn't qualify. So I'm going to be staying put in America for a while.
Vancouver's a wonderful place, very progressive kind of city up there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I mean, it's got skiing and rafting and anything you can think of. Yeah, it's just a dream, but it's just hella expensive.
Yep. Polite people.
What's that?
Polite people.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
Right. But I have a lot of friends up there too. Kevin Harris, who was one of the original Bones Brigade writers from Canada. And he started working with George Powell. He started Ultimate Distribution, which was the largest skateboard distributor in Canada.
Oh, cool.
A lot of ties up there. Yeah. And I've been going up there, close friends with Monty Little, who kind of runs the scene up there. Been going up there since I think first time up was maybe 78, 79.
So this roundup has been every year since 2014, except for pandemic.
Well, 2012 until, was it 2000 that we started shutting down?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I started shutting down 40 years ago. So
yeah, or no, 2000. We came back at 2019, 2020. Oh no, the pandemic was kind of started late 2019 into 2021. So I think we came back, yeah, earlier this year. And I think we're done with it. You know, we had a 10-year run. We switched to doing it online during the pandemic. So skaters would videotape themselves doing a run, and then
that's cool. Yeah, that's one way of doing it.
Yeah. So we did that for a couple of years. We really missed seeing each other, but yeah. So it really good experience, and I really enjoyed having an excuse or some way to stay more active in the skateboard scene.
Yeah.
But I had the same problem with Canada coverage in the magazines. In the late 70s, Skateboarder Magazine wasn't any more interested in Canada skaters than they were in Florida skaters.
Yeah.
So I kind of became an advocate for the Canadian skate scene as well as the Florida skate scene.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that it's like global, and, is there any other place that they do this for freestyle on a global basis?
There's one in, I can't think of the name of the city, but it's somewhere in Germany. And I forget the name now, but they've been doing a big contest there that they've had a big turnout, not quite as international of a showing. Because in Vancouver, they're so hospitable. I mean, the stereotype of them just being so nice and friendly is really true. And the skaters or the families or whatever, they would actually put these skaters up in their homes. So these skaters wouldn't have the high expense of not only the flight, but, the hotels and stuff to stay.
Yeah, and the hotels are freaking, as you mentioned, they're freaking hella expensive.
Oh yeah, it just kills people. I mean, a lot of people couldn't come because of that. Some had sponsors, of course, but you're looking at the crowd there in the lower left-hand or right-hand corner, where there's a lot of people coming out on their own dime. So having a place to crash and stay.
Yeah.
And they've got the First Nations there. So there's a couple of the volunteers who are indigenous people up there are really hospitable and put up just a whole ton of skaters. Yeah.
So you broke your arm and you started taking pictures.
Yeah.
Is that was the start?
What was the first camera?
Oh, let me go grab it. It was like a cheap little Canon.
This is awesome.
So
You're gonna bring a damn box out, and you're gonna start going through a box now. What are we doing here?
Well, I mean, I just asked which one it was. We're gonna get to actually
Pull out that
see
roll of film. You know, people don't even know what a roll of film is anymore. So
that's right. Yeah.
Well, I did resist going digital for a while, mostly because the early digital cameras, unless you paid, $10,000 plus, the sensors on them were just so crappy.
Yep.
So I waited a little bit, just waiting for technology to catch
yeah,
up.
those early digital, you hit this trigger, and then it'd have to process the picture, and then you couldn't just click a bunch of pictures. There you go.
Right.
Look at that thing. That's classic. There you go. I
That
love
is
it.
classic. It looks like something
That's
when you
that's
type
a
in camera, it pops up a
viewfinder kind of
picture.
camera. That's
Yeah.
not a single lens reflex there.
Nice.
Well, I took it to the beach because I was, I became the GNS team photographer in the process because I was in San Diego and the GNS team was here. And so I got to be friends with all of them at La Costa, and it was just kind of an organic thing that happened. But anyway, because Gordon and Smith make surfboards too, I got into surfing a little bit for fun. Anyway, I took this thing to the beach and I waded in because it's a fixed lens. So it's not like I could zoom in on the surfer. So I waded in as far as I could, but some water splashed on it. And now it's kind of rusted and frozen shut. So I can't even open the back anymore to show to you, but yeah.
WD-40, just spray the thing. You'd be fine.
Yeah, right. Well, so that was my first camera. And then after I started working for Skateboarder, Warren Bolster saw my photos I was shooting up at La Costa after I broke my arm. And he came over and looked at some of my slides and asked if he could take some with me. And then he published a few, and then he hired me in January '78. And at that point, I became sponsored by Canon.
So right on. Excellent.
Yeah, well, they were sorry.
They didn't want to fix your camera. What's wrong with Canon? Why didn't they help you?
Well, they were sorry. Well, it was just totally happenstance that I happened to buy a Canon camera. It's probably the cheapest thing I could afford. But no, Canon was sorry they sponsored me though, because I had so many skaters because I was always putting myself in the line of fire for the best shots. And the skaters were always breaking my cameras or sometimes breaking my face in the process. But yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. It's really cool that you still have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I kept my first digital camera, which doesn't look, anything unusual. But after Canon started putting some plastics into their lenses, this is after I left Skateboarder and wasn't a professional photographer anymore. I mean, I wasn't doing it for a living. I switched it to Nikon. So I'm a Nikon guy now. Not that that's either here nor there, but.
So did you shoot slide or print or negative? What did you shoot?
Almost completely slide film.
Ektachrome. Ektachrome 100?
No.
Kodachrome.
Oh, I love Ektachrome.
Ektachrome had like a horrible tint to it. So if I'm shooting in incandescent or fluorescent lighting, it was just problematic.
Right.
No, Kodachrome 64.
Okay.
Kodachrome.
That was the film that the skateboarders supplied us guys on staff. That's just the film that we got. Now we also shot a little bit with Tri-X, which is a much faster black and white, or Plus X.
Right.
Slower.
Plus X, yeah.
And the real problem with the Kodachrome 64 is 64 was the sensitivity of the film. So unless you had a nice, bright, sunny day,
Right.
you had no good depth of field on the focusing, and it could be really a challenge. Or you get blurry shots or something because it's moving too fast for you just can't shoot fast enough.
So
God, great memories here.
So I want to correct me if I'm wrong, but I want our viewers to know, especially the young ones, this was a picture that was taken, both of these, and then a week, a couple days minimum later, they were developed, and this is what they were. There was no running them through an iPhoto, changing the contrast,
Oh,
the brightness of the
right,
color.
right.
It
Yeah,
was
we actually took us about well, I could get it done faster, but typically I take my slide film to the local photo lab here, and I'd get them back in about a week.
Right.
So whatever I shot, I didn't know how it came out. Took me a week to find out. And especially when I started doing like pioneering some lighting techniques and stuff,
Right.
that stuff I had no clue how it was going to
Oh
turn out.
man.
I was just guessing and
Yeah.
have to wait a week to see if my ideas panned out.
so
But on the left there,
Anticipation.
yeah, on the left there, God, just love that shot, and I'm so glad that the Skateboarding Hall of Fame is finally catching up with Florida skaters. You know, to
Yeah, a
have these
bunch of them got
guys.
in this year. That was good.
What is that?
A bunch of them got inducted this year. That was good. Bruce Walker.
Well, I think was it Mike Fulmer or was he last year?
I think Fulmer was already in. This year was
Yeah.
Mark Lake, Sean Petty, gosh,
Bruce.
Monty.
Monty, that's right, Monty Nolder.
Yeah, Monty was back. You know, I didn't even recognize him. We ran into each other out in the parking lot there. The Hall of Fame was at the new Vans headquarters
Yeah.
in Orange County, and he came up to my car and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I looked at him. I thought he looked kind of familiar, but I hadn't seen him in forever. But
Right.
yeah, it was great to see him and great to see him get inducted. But yeah, I love that foot plan. I love the fact that we've got a crowd in the background.
Yeah.
Um,
That's Rainbow Wave. Is that where is that?
Rainbow
Rainbow
Wave,
Wave,
yeah. And you can see the pro shop there a little bit kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
center under Monty's shoulder in the background. But you know, Alan would have been there, Alan Gelfand and Mike McGill. I mean, they were always out there.
Yep.
Yeah,
But this is a contest, and you can see it was in the fall or winter because the trees are bare, and the spectators are wearing long sleeves.
Yeah.
But
good call.
got some people in the background there that are identifiable. I think there's Bob Shoemaker in the back, and pick out some of those others.
Yeah.
That's a strong move, though. That's a Monty move to get. That was a really strange half pipe, hard to ride, and to get that far out is, I mean, that's all Monty.
What's the board? What are the rails?
That's a turning point. That's a turning point board. And they were known as Puncture Madness, is what they had written on them. And it's got those are probably X tracks. Those are magnesium X tracks. And it looks like Powell wheels. But this is before he got, I guess he got on GNS shortly after this.
Well, I don't remember that. I don't think he was on for too long. I see he's got a Flyway helmet.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I think he was sponsored by Tracker, though.
Yeah, that's because that's those magnesiums weren't cheap back then, and I'm sure he went through a couple of pair each month with that. Those things were gnarly, but yeah, that's Puncture Madness. That started down in South Florida, so it doesn't surprise me he's on that board. But yeah, he started getting the attention of the industry real quick after this period of time.
Well, and you had guys like Jimmy Plumer, and who else was a couple other guys that were kind of touring around with the Turning Point ramp.
Yeah, Jerry Valdez.
Yeah,
who loves the Jer?
One crazy guy.
Yeah. Oh, Senator. So the Senator.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right.
That's who I was trying to think of was Kent.
Yeah,
and his brother Scott.
Yeah, Scott, there, there's still, you see Kent, I think Kent's over in the islands now, but he used to come back to the mainland every now and then and skate some.
Yeah,
So
well,
what's the knee pads and the elbow pads? They got the rector. What are they? Look like
Yeah,
rectors.
that's
And-
the nasty old rectors.
I don't know
Yeah.
what the elbow pad are. That's some hockey thing or something.
I don't know, it's hard to tell from the inside like that.
Yeah.
But and then of course Sean Petey there on the right. God,
Yeah.
miss that guy. I never got to be super close with him and didn't see him as much because he lived up in Tallahassee. You know, he's up in the north. And so I didn't get up that way much. Really Gainesville, well, took a few trips to Jacksonville, of course, Kona. But Gainesville is about as far north as I went for most of my little journeys.
Right. Well, that's
Look at the pads.
sensation.
Look at the
Third
pads.
wall at Sensation Basin with Sean Petty on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
look at
Thanks for
pads
mentioning
he's
the
wearing.
part. And I love that kid on the wall. But you know, nobody who's been there, anybody who hasn't been there though, can't appreciate this wall like what it is really. Because I've isolated the wall. You can't really see what the vert is or the height or anything.
Yep.
Well, you're standing there 6 feet tall with the camera.
Yeah.
Wall goes straight up from there.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
goes 6 feet down from where you're standing too. So.
Well, unfortunately, Instagram, that's why I hate Instagram so much. They keep cropping my pictures.
Right.
This photo
Oh.
isn't cropped, but this was when I first came back because I quit Instagram for a couple of years. And when I came back, I was pretty clueless about how badly they crop stuff. And Sean was one of my first photos I uploaded to share. And yeah, I got cropped pretty badly. But you can see the action, so that's what counts.
So he's got SIO hip pads on. That's Barry Zaritsky.
Right.
And I don't know what kind of elbow pads those are, but they don't look very.
Well, look at the knee pads. The knee pads are just freaking strap-ons going around a
Hockey pads.
going around. Yeah, it's hockey pads going around some basketball knee pads.
That looks pretty bad.
But look at the trucks, Jim. He was an early gull wing guy.
He was, and I think that's why we had closer ties than I did. But really, I was hanging so much more down in the South. You know, guys like Brent Rademacher and Alan and Mike, of course, and Kevin Peterson, George, of course. Where were you at, George, during that time?
I was in Clearwater, so I was there with Fisher and that group.
Steve Fisher, yeah, that was the other one. Yeah.
And let's take a look at what we got here. So we're still a little bit of both.
Yeah, this one
Ray
Diaz
Diaz on the left. Who's that?
on the left.
Ray
Yeah,
Diaz.
it's one of my favorite shots of all time. I mean, that guy was just so stylish. Well, I'd compare him kind of like a Florida Dogtowner. You know, I hate to reference people to Dogtown, but you know, I mean, he had that radical style.
Yep.
There's no doubt that
He's probably 13 years old there, right?
So
Pretty young, yeah.
this is when age groups meant something. Now the contests are beginner, intermediate, advanced, sponsored, pro, whatever. They're arbitrary. So this kid, Ray Diaz, beat Mike McGill in every contest for almost 2 years in a row.
I believe that. I don't remember the score, you know, how people placed and stuff, but I definitely did connect with guys like Ray a lot. Mike Fulmer, absolutely. Probably saw those guys more often skating, maybe at Rainbow Wave, but you know, it was in late 79, 78 and 79. My first 2 years at Skateboarder were just so busy traveling and on the go. And Skateboarder wasn't really interested in the Florida skate scene, but and I was talking to you, Ed, trying to remember jog my memory, and I think it was Steve Byers from Panama City. Somehow we met or connected somewhere, I don't know, and he invited me to come down, and I thought, you know, I need a break from this crazy year, 1979. So I decided I was going to spend the winter in Florida because I had become friends with so many guys down there, so many of you guys down there. And I thought it'll be like a working vacation. So that was late 79 that I went down. And the reason I mention that is I stayed with Kit and Linda Traverso, the owners of Rainbow Wave. I stayed at their house for about a month and a half. And their condition was they'll put me up, they'll feed me, give me all the weed I want. But I've got to put in some time at the park, working at the park for them. So that was the trade-off.
That's great.
Yeah. So it was great. Of course, it didn't leave me totally free to be out there in the park shooting skating, but I did spend a lot of time there.
I think 1979 was like a crescendo of energy everywhere.
Yeah.
And things were happening so fast and so exciting. It was just amazing.
It really was. So I stayed at Kit and Linda's in Tampa. I mean, we went jet skiing and did, all the kind of regular tourist stuff too. But and then I moved over to Boca Raton. Alan Gelfand put me in touch with a guy named Paul McCartney, not the Beatles guy, in Boca Raton. And I stayed with him for about a month and a half. And that's when I ended up hanging out at the Hollywood ramp and spent a lot of time at Gelfand's house. And
how old were you at this time?
Oh, I probably would have been 22, 23.
Cool.
So I was kind of the old man of the group. Kind of weird saying 22 as being old, but
right, yeah.
Feel for that right now.
Yeah.
But look at the Diaz board there. So if you look, I mean, this is just crazy. This is before he got on Kryptonics. Clearly,
whatever happened to Little?
So
Bobby
Little's still around. He's in Eleuthera, if I remember right. But yeah, he's still and he's just a waterman over there. Doesn't make it over to Florida anymore. But yeah, he's still around. A buddy of mine connected with him not too long ago about some other industry stuff. But yeah, Bobby's still around. But if you look at Ray's board there, it's so before pre-Kryptonics, but he's got all the tracker stickers on it.
Yeah.
But he's riding indies
with half-inch risers.
Well, that was pretty common though. I've seen guys ride indies with tracker stickers or riding trackers with Indy stickers.
Yeah.
I mean, 78, 79, because Indy came on the scene in 78.
Yeah.
And I remember when they first showed up, Henry Hester was their spokesman. And for the Hester series, they showed up at, well, I don't know, one of the Northern California skate parks, probably Milpitas or Winchester.
It was at Newark. It was the contest at Newark.
That makes sense. Thank you.
That was the blow up. Yeah, that was Fausto was out in the parking lot just handing that shit out.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't really. Well, I'm going to reserve comments about what I think about Fausto personally. Yeah. It was just the way it was, and Santa Cruz was kind of the same, NHS. But I remember Henry Hester walking in with an Indy shirt on, which I had not heard of this. Now everybody's familiar with the pathetic stroker trucks that Indy created.
I'm trying to drink here.
Right. So I didn't pay much attention to Indy when they launched their trucks, even though they certainly looked infinitely better than the stroker truck did. But Henry showed up with that, and I thought it was a trucking company because it just said independent truck company. So I didn't make the connection, skateboard trucks, but they were literally wrapping $100 bills around the trucks and saying, hey, we got some great trucks we know you're going to love. So they really made a killing. Guys jumped ship from tracker or whatever to Indy like I'd never seen before. And of course, as a photographer, I always hated that, because if I'm shooting a skater on a certain product that they're sponsored, the magazine's not going to publish that if they're switched to another product.
Yeah.
So it was really problematic. But
so what lens were you using for are you a wide angle lens? Or you don't have fisheye?
Semi fisheye, like a 15 millimeter.
15, okay.
Center super wide. Yeah, not quite a fisheye, because a true fisheye is really like a fishbowl. But yeah, wide angle, about 15 millimeter. And that's what I shot a lot with. Mostly because I could get my camera in. As you can see, my camera's down under the coping. I'd never be able to like contort my body into position and look through the viewfinder.
Right. So
for a
you
shot
just
like this.
you just grabbed this. You hung the camera over the edge and got the shot.
Yeah, and of course that's how I end up getting a lot of accidents.
Yeah.
Right.
Too, but you
Yeah.
know, I got the shots, and I was just talking to Brad Bowman about that the other day. We were shooting at Oxnard. We were really close friends back then, and he came down a snake run at Oxnard Skate Park, and at the very end, I wanted him to do kind of like an ollie slide or vert on this wall, a similar wall to the Gainesville Skate Park main wall there, similar like that. And anyway, he came by and he knew I was shooting a picture. My camera's right there at the edge of there wasn't coping. It was just like a top of the wall, whatever you want to call it. And he slammed right into my camera, slammed right into my head, put a big gash in my forehead, and of course blood's coming down into my eye, and I couldn't shoot anymore. And when I posted the picture on Instagram, all the fans jumped in because they were excited that Brad was, talking live in this commentary on the photo. And Brad apologized. He says, "I can't believe you're still friends with me after I trashed you."
Well, especially after you wrapped that duct tape all around your head and then didn't mess up to it.
Well, I don't want to say that was Grant Britton, but there was quite a few, everybody from Tony Hawk to anybody you can think of, top skaters back in the day were all skating Del Mar. So I don't think I'm ever going to find out who initiated that.
So has anybody seen suede Norcons before? I don't recall those, and Ray's got them on.
Yeah, they came out with those for a while. I don't know how long they lasted because I don't know if the suede would be as durable, but they looked really
No.
cool.
Yeah. That's
All
just
right.
nasty stuff. But what do you know?
So
So who's that on the right?
Jimmy Plumer.
That Plumer?
Jimmy
Yeah.
Plumer, and obviously Kona Skate Park. That was probably 84. I want to say there was a contest there then. And I think that was my last contest on the road. So I want to say that was 84. Well, I was sent back there by a skateboarder. This was after they accepted the fact that maybe Florida does have some worthy skaters. But prior to that, they wouldn't pay for anything. So all the trips I took to Florida, I did on my own dime.
Oh wow.
But by 84, they wanted to do this article, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but I want to say a surf company sponsored it. I guess not that important, but they sent me back there to write the article and shoot the photos. So I'm pretty sure that was 84. Yeah.
And what magazine was that with?
Still Skateboarder Magazine.
Still Skateboarder Mag?
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. This would have been Transworld at that time.
Got it. Yeah. It's like
I left Skateboarder in 1980 when they went to Action Now. I quit, and then because I had a good relationship with Mike Williams and Walt Teeds, who was the owner of Gullwing HBG4, the parent company, they hired me there as general manager and team manager. So yeah, I take that back. If it was 84, I was doing it for Transworld at that point.
That was a big transition era right around there. All the parks were going down, so maybe Skateboarder Magazine had to figure out how to survive, and they went to Action Now. It was just like from extremely high excitement to extreme low sadness,
and I understand why they did it, and we kind of saw it coming. Like late '79. Me and Craig Feynman were the two, and there was Warren Bolser, he was already gone, but Jim Casmus, of course, was photo editor and staff. But there were really only three of us on staff at that particular time. And they paid us salaries, plus they paid per photo and per article written. And so we could make good money, but they cut our salaries in late '79. I don't remember exactly when. And so we could kind of see the writing on the wall. And we used to joke about, gee, are we going to have to go out and get a real job now? Yeah.
skateboarding history by those who lived it on the Skateboarding Bros Show.